Level 1. The law student. Nobody tells you what law school actually is before you get there. You applied because you were good at arguing, because you watched courtroom dramas and felt something, because someone told you that law was the degree that opened every door, and you believed them, and you took out $180,000 in loans to find out if that was true. It is the first week of L1, first year of law school, and a professor named Professor Chen walks into the room and does not introduce herself. She opens a casebook and calls on a student in the third row and asks him to explain the holding in Palsgraf v. Long Island Railroad. The student was not called on yesterday. He did not know he would be called on today. Nobody knows who will be called on. That is the point. The Socratic method is not about teaching you the law. It is about teaching you to think on your feet in front of an audience when the stakes feel high. Because that is the entire job. You learn to brief cases. Every case is a story, a plaintiff, a defendant, a set of facts, a legal question, a holding, a rationale. You read 60 pages a night minimum. Some nights 100. The cases are old and the language is dense, and the facts seem irrelevant until the professor reveals why they are not. And that moment, the moment when the fact that seemed irrelevant becomes the fact that decided everything, is the closest thing to magic that law school produces. You are not learning rules. You are learning to think like a lawyer, which means you are learning to see both sides of every argument with equal clarity and choose one anyway. This is harder than it sounds. Most people, when presented with a situation, already know which side they're on. Lawyers are trained to genuinely understand the side they are not on well enough to dismantle it. The first semester grades arrive. Law school is graded on a curve. In a class of 100 students, most of them smart, most of them having worked hard, the curve means that a significant number of them will receive grades that do not reflect how hard they worked. They will reflect how they performed relative to the other smart people who also worked hard. This is the first time many law students encounter a system where effort and outcome are not directly correlated, and it restructures something in the way they understand the world. You make law review, or you don't. You get a summer associate position at a firm, or you don't. The stratification of law school is merciless and begins almost immediately, and by the end of first year, everyone in the room knows roughly where they stand in the hierarchy that will define the first decade of their careers. Second year, you take evidence, contracts, constitutional law, criminal procedure. Each course is a universe. You start to see the law not as a fixed set of rules, but as a living argument that has been happening for centuries, where every case is a response to a previous case, and the outcome of every case shapes the cases that come after it. You are not learning what the law is. You are learning how the law moves. Third year, you do clinics, real clients, real problems. A landlord-tenant dispute, an immigration matter, a small criminal case. For the first time, the person across the table from you is not a hypothetical. They have a name and a problem, and they are looking at you like you have the answer. You do not always have the answer. You learn to be useful anyway. You graduate. You sit the bar exam. 2 days, 200 questions of multiple choice, and 6 hours of essay writing on subjects that range from property law to federal civil procedure to professional responsibility. You pass. You are a lawyer. You have $180,000 in debt. You have a degree. You have a license. You have almost no idea what you were doing, and you are about to find out. Level 2. The junior associate. The law firm is a different institution from the law school. And the difference is this. In law school, the point was your education. In the law firm, the point is the client. You are now a tool in service of an outcome, and your value is measured in the precision and speed with which you produce work that serves that outcome. You are a first-year associate at a mid-size firm. Your salary is $180,000 if you were at a big law firm, less if you were at a smaller one. That sounds like a lot of money until you divide it by the hours. Big law expects 2,000 billable hours per year as a minimum. Billable hours are the hours you can charge to a client. To hit 2,000 billable hours, you need to work significantly more than 2,000 hours, because not every hour of your day is billable. Administrative tasks are not billable. Training is not billable. The time you spend being lost is not billable. To hit 2,000 billable hours, most associates work 60 to 80 hours a week. Your job is research and writing. You are not in the courtroom. You are not advising clients. You are in a small office or a shared workspace reading cases and writing memos that will be read by a senior associate who will edit them and pass them to a partner who will review them and possibly use a small portion of the thinking in a brief that goes to a judge. Your name will not be on the brief. Your contribution will be invisible. This is the job. You were assigned to a senior associate named Marcus. Marcus has been at the firm for 4 years. Marcus is the person who tells you what the partners actually want when the partner has been too vague and too busy to tell you themselves. Marcus is the person who edits your work at midnight and sends it back with comments that are precise and sometimes brutal, and always correct. Marcus is the person who, when you get something badly wrong, tells you quietly in a way that is meant to teach rather than humiliate, and that quality is rarer than you expected. Level 3, the senior associate or specialist. By year 4 or 5, you have stopped being surprised by the work. Not because the work is easy, because you know what the hard parts are before they arrive. You are a senior associate now. You manage junior associates. You review their work with the same eye that Marcus used on yours. You explain things to them in the hallway after a partner has given vague instructions. You translate. That is what a senior associate is. A translator between the partner's vision and the junior associate's execution. You have chosen a specialty: corporate transactional work, litigation, intellectual property, criminal defense, tax, employment. Each specialty is its own world. Each has its own vocabulary, its own rhythm, its own specific kind of pressure. Corporate transactional work is the work of deals, mergers and acquisitions, private equity, capital markets. The pressure is time-based. Deals have closing dates. The work compresses into the weeks before the close, and the final 48 hours before signing can be something that requires you to be awake for a very long time. Litigation is the work of disputes. The pressure is episodic. Periods of intense work around filings and depositions and trial preparation, interspersed with periods of steadier work. The trial itself is its own thing entirely. If you chose litigation, you have been in court now, not as the lead, as the person who sits at counsel table and passes documents and watches the partner try the case and absorbs everything. But you have argued motions, you have taken depositions, you have cross-examined a witness in a small proceeding and felt what it is like to have another human being in front of you trying to say one thing while the truth is something else, and to use the tools of the law to make the truth visible. Level 4, the partner. Partnership is not a promotion. That is the thing they do not tell you clearly enough before you spend 7 years working toward it. Partnership is an ownership stake in a business. You are no longer an employee, you are an owner. And the thing that the partnership track selected for, the ability to do excellent legal work, is not the same thing as the thing that partnership requires, the ability to generate business. Rainmaking, that is the word. A partner who cannot bring in clients is a partner who is a cost to the firm rather than an asset. The legal work is the product. The clients are the revenue. Without clients, the legal work has nowhere to go. You have a book of business. Clients who follow you because of the relationship you have built with them. You have spent years becoming indispensable to specific people at specific companies. You know their business. You know their risk tolerance. You know which calls they make at midnight and which calls they prefer to avoid. You are not just their lawyer. You are the person they call when the problem does not yet have a legal shape and they need someone to help them understand what kind of problem it is. Your billing rate is now $500 an hour or more. At a major firm, significantly more. You have junior associates and senior associates working for you. You are supervising the work rather than doing all of it. You are responsible for the product, and you are responsible for the relationship. And you are responsible for the business that pays for both. You try a case, a real one. 3 weeks in federal court. Your client is a company accused of securities fraud. The evidence is complicated. The jury is 12 people who did not choose to be there and are trying very hard to understand things that took you months to learn. Your job for 3 weeks is to make the complicated simple without making it false. You open, you cross-examine witnesses, you object and are overruled and object again. You close. The jury deliberates for 2 days. Your client is acquitted on the primary count, found liable on a secondary count. You have won and lost simultaneously, and you have to explain to the client what that means and what comes next. This is also the job, not just the winning and losing, but the translation of the outcome into something a human being can understand and act on. You lose a client, not because of bad work, Because the company was acquired and the acquiring company has its own legal relationships and there is no room for yours. The client calls to tell you personally and thanks you for 8 years of work, and you accept it professionally, and you sit in your office after the call and you feel the specific weight of a relationship that mattered being severed for a reason that has nothing to do with anything either of you did. You build the relationship back. Different client, same industry. Referrals from the old client who respected the work even as they moved on. This is how it works. The work creates the reputation creates the referrals create the business creates the capacity to do more work. The loop continues until you stop it or it stops you. You are making $500,000 to $1.5 million a year, depending on the firm and the practice area and the size of your book of business. The money is real. The hours are still real. The weekends are less frequent, but they still happen. The calls at midnight still happen. The client who needs something immediately on a Saturday morning still happens. The partnership changed the equity. It did not change the fundamental nature of the work, which is that someone always needs something and you are the person they call.
Level 5. The Master Lawyer. Level 5 is not about the money. By the time you get here, the money has been enough for long enough that it is no longer the measure of anything. You've been practicing law for 25 years, maybe 30. You have tried cases that were covered in the news. You have advised companies through crises that would have destroyed them without the specific quality of the guidance you provided. You have written briefs that change the way a section of the law is applied. You have trained lawyers who are now partners themselves and who call you when they have a problem they cannot solve. You know things about the law that cannot be found in any casebook. You know how judges think, not judges in the abstract, specific judges in specific courts, and what they care about and what they find persuasive and what irritates them, and how to present a case in their courtroom in a way that accounts for all of it. You know how deals die and how to keep them alive. You know which client problems are legal problems and which are business problems wearing legal clothing, and what to do with each kind. You have seen the law change. Cases that were settled law when you started are contested now. Constitutional interpretations that seemed fixed have shifted. Technology has created legal questions that did not exist when you graduated, and you have had to learn new areas of law in your 50s that your younger colleagues grew up with. You adapted. Adaptation is the core skill. The law has never been static. The lawyers who last are the ones who understand that their job is not to know the law, but to know how to find and apply and argue the law. And that skill transfers across every change.
You have lost cases you should have won. You have won cases you did not deserve to win. Both of those things tell you something important. The won cases you did not deserve taught you that the law is not perfectly just. It is a system operated by human beings, and human beings are imperfect, and the outcomes are therefore imperfect. Knowing this does not make you cynical. It makes you precise. Because precision is the only tool you have against imperfection. You have a young associate in your office. She is 3 years in. She's excellent. She is going to make partner if she stays. She is telling you that she is thinking about leaving, not for another firm, out of law entirely. She is burned out in the specific way that 3 years of 2,000 billable hours produces. She has given the work everything, and she does not know what she got back. You tell her the truth. You tell her that the first 5 years are the price of admission, not just to the firm, to the practice, to the point where the law becomes something you have rather than something you are trying to acquire. You tell her that the work gets different, not easier, different. The cases get more interesting because your ability to engage with them deepens. The client relationships get more meaningful because they are built on years of demonstrated trust. The wins feel different at year 15 than they did at year 3. Because at year 15, you know what they cost. You tell her that if she stays, she should stay because she is made for this work. And you tell her that if she is not made for this work, leaving is not failure. The law is not for everyone who is smart enough to do it. It is for the ones who are built for the specific shape of the sacrifice it requires. She stays. You do not know if that is the right outcome. You gave her the honest answer, and she made her own choice, and that is all you can do. You are in a courtroom. Not for the first time, for the 900th time approximately. You have stopped counting. The opposing counsel is very good. The judge is experienced and fair. The case is complex and close. You stand to deliver your closing argument, and for a moment before you begin, you are aware of the full length of the path. The professor who called on an unprepared student in the third row 30 years ago, and the casebook that made no sense, and the bar exam, and Marcus, and the missed deadlines, and the client who settled for less than they deserved, and the acquittal in the fraud case, and the client you lost to an acquisition, and the associate who stayed. And then you begin, and you make the complicated simple, without making it false. That is the whole job. It has always been the whole job. You are level 5.